Hey everybody, Father Warner here. Believe it or not, I am recording this at Changi Airport in Singapore. Uh, you're going to hear a whole lot of other sounds of people walking around and the music in the background, but please bear with all of this. I'm not speaking very loudly today because I don't want to disturb everybody around me. Today is the 17th of December, the Tuesday of the third week in Advent, but from now on we have privilege readings, and the first reading today is taken from Genesis chapter 49 verses 2 and then 8 to 10. The Gospel is taken from Matthew chapter 1 verses 1 to 17. Now, more than give you a reflection today, I'm going to spend some time giving you the background of these readings because they're heavy if you don't understand, heavy to understand if you don't really know the background of it. So Genesis chapter 49, it's really the end of the book of Genesis. It ends in chapter 50, and this text was really written at the time of the judges. It was inserted into Genesis to give the book a bit of finality. So what's the context? If you look at chapter 49 of Genesis, you will see that Jacob is on his deathbed, and of course he calls his family, his 12 sons. This is his last statement. Chapter 49 is also called the blessings of Jacob, though it's more like a prophecy, and you'll see that each of the 12 sons, really from where you get the 12 tribes of Israel, are called. So it's not directed so much to his sons as much as it's going to be directed towards the tribes after whom the sons have been named. Now, two of these, if you read chapter 49, two of these sons stand out. Jacob, from whom our first reading, the text of the first reading today is devoted to, and the other in chapter 49 is Joseph, who goes into Egypt. So these two will dominate all the others in the blessings. Now, today's reading is important because I want to read this section. Basically, you can see that the Judah is singled out. Let me read this. It says, "The scepter shall not pass from Judah." Please read the text, it's important. "The scepter shall not pass from Judah, nor the mace from between his feet until he come to whom it belongs." So this is clearly a reference. Until he comes to whom it belongs is a clear reference to the Messiah. Now, interestingly, it was 640 years after this blessing that King David comes along on the scene, and a total of 1,600 years before Jesus. Remember, God takes his time. He may make a prophecy, he may make a blessing, but don't expect it always to happen instinctively. Therefore, from Judah will come the Messiah. You will see when we get to the Gospel of Matthew, you will hear the genealogy. Okay, I'll explain that. Now, let's look a little bit at Judah. Who was Judah? He was the fourth son of Jacob. Judah is also referred to as Ephraim in the scriptures. So clearly he has a priority over his brothers, a preeminence, if you may say, over his brothers. He was also the spokesperson of his brothers when they went to represent their case to Joseph, their brother, who was in Egypt. In the text of today, in the first part of the text, Judah is referred to as the lion's cub, not the lion's club, sorry, the cub of the lion, or a lion's cub. And when you read Revelations chapter 5:5, Jesus is referred to also as the Lion of Judah. This reference to the lion's cub is really to indicate strength, to indicate the courage. Yet when you look at Judah, He's not an exemplary character. Look at Genesis chapter 37, verse 26. It suggests that Judah wanted to make a profit in order to get rid of his brother Joseph. Also, when you see Genesis 38, verse 26, you will see that it is Judah who does not deal fairly with his daughter-in-law Tamar. In fact, before she becomes his daughter-in-law, Judah has sex with Tamar, and Tamar is a prostitute. And I'll tell you why I'm telling you this, not to scandalize you, but to show you, even when we go through the genealogy, that, the genealogy of Jesus was not airbrushed. It wasn't made to look that Jesus came from perfection. God came to live among us sinners. He himself came from a line of people who were sinful. So coming to Matthew chapter 1, verses 1 to 17, which is the genealogy, first you need to understand that genealogies of this family history, this list, was written for several reasons. I'm just going to give you two. One, to show, especially Matthew wants to show, because Matthew's gospel was written by Jewish Christians for Jewish Christians. So it was written to convince them, to make sure that they understood that Jesus was the promised Messiah. Also, that Jesus is the long-awaited climax of this prophecy. Now, if you read the text of today of Matthew chapter 1, verse 1 to 17, you'll see that Jesus is referred in the opening lines as the son of David and the son of Abraham. Son of David, why? Because Jesus will be king. Son of Abraham, because he's a descendant of Abraham. If you see Genesis chapter 22, verse 18, it says, from whom all nations, referring to Abraham, from whom all nations of the earth gain a blessing. Now, if you look at this genealogy, it has three parts. Each of these have 14 generations. Why? Because 7 being a perfect number for the Jews, 7 is, if you multiply 7, it gives you 14. So you have perfection coming through. If you look at even the name of David, in the Hebrew letters of the alphabet, David has 14 letters. So again, perfection. Now, look carefully at this genealogy. You will notice it has, as I said, 3 sets of 14 generations. However, the last one has only 13 names. Many scholars have proposed that the 14th name is Jesus. So if you look, it's from Abraham to David, David to the deportation in Babylon, from the deportation in Babylon to Joseph, Mary, and then Jesus. In this list, as I said, you will also find 4 women, not including Mary. You'll find Tamar, Ruth, Rahab, and Bathsheba. Also, there were 4 women at the foot of the cross. But referring to these 4 women in the genealogy, there were those who had marital affairs. There were those Tamar was a prostitute. There were those who lied. And even when you look at the list of men, there are its fair share of scoundrels. I mean, starting with David. David had an affair. David was a murderer. He had Bathsheba's husband murdered. So, there is no effort, as I said, by the scriptures to sanitize the list of people in Jesus' family history. It's not a perfect list. There are, as some scholars say, skeletons in the closet of Jesus' ancestry, but the Bible doesn't hide it. Because John 1:14 tells us, the Word became flesh and He dwelt among us. God comes to a sinful world, not to condemn it, but to redeem it. This Advent season, be redeemed by the precious love of Jesus, who will be born to die for you and me. Today is the first of these privileged readings. If you might, a novena of sorts, a preparation. So even if you haven't really got into the whole swing of the season of Advent, this is a good day to begin. God bless you. Pray for me. I will continue to teach you even though I travel, sometimes even from an airport. But God's word must be taught, it must be proclaimed. Pray for me. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to this channel. And for those of you who would like to make a contribution to this ministry, you may contact me on WhatsApp on 98202 42151. I make an appeal just twice a year, at Advent and in the season of Lent. God bless you. Hope you enjoyed this teaching.